Secret Service agent Clint Hill climbing in the back of the presidential limousine that dreadful November day in Dallas to try to push Jacqueline Kennedy back to protect her life.
For over 50 years, one man held a secret so painful that it remained unspoken, until now. What was once a symbol of grace and strength concealed a heartbreaking truth few could imagine. How could a life lived in the spotlight carry such a deeply guarded sorrow? Behind the polished public image stood a story of anguish and resilience that shaped Jackie Kennedy in ways history has barely touched. The man sworn to protect her chose silence for decades, but today, the shadows finally give way to light, and everything we thought we knew about Jackie may change forever. The silent burden begins. From the moment Clint Hill was assigned to protect Jacqueline Kennedy, he sensed there was more to her story than the public realized. What seemed like a routine bodyguard role quickly revealed itself as a far heavier responsibility. Hill, a young and dedicated Secret Service agent, soon understood that Jackie carried an invisible weight, one that shaped every aspect of her life. Though surrounded by glamour and historic moments, she remained a profoundly private figure, guarded not only by agents but by layers of personal pain. Hill's first impressions of Jackie shattered any assumptions that protecting a First Lady would be less challenging than guarding the President himself. Her life was an intricate balance between public duty and private vulnerability. He recognized early on that beneath her composed exterior was a woman bearing burdens few could see, and those burdens demanded more than physical protection. It was this quiet sorrow that planted the seed of the secret he would eventually keep for decades. The secret Jackie carried was never openly discussed, even with those closest to her. Hill's role went beyond shielding her from physical dangers. It became about honoring the spaces where she could grieve in silence. The intensity of that responsibility grew as he observed how Jackie carried herself, willing to face the world's glare but fiercely protective of what lay beneath. This hidden tension shaped Hill's understanding of his mission, though the full truth remained elusive then. Throughout his early days as her protector, Hill saw flashes of something rare, a resilience forged in heartbreak and perseverance. Jackie was not simply a figurehead. She was a woman navigating deep emotional turmoil while maintaining an unshakable public presence. Hill's instincts told him that whatever she was holding back was monumental. Yet, he knew revealing that truth required trust and patience, and he listened carefully as her story unfolded in hushed moments. The burden Jackie carried affected more than just her own spirit. It influenced the atmosphere around her, including those tasked with safeguarding her. Hill often found himself walking a fine line between vigilance and respect, balancing his protective duties with sensitivity to Jackie's need for privacy. He watched as she carefully managed appearances, even while wrestling with unimaginable personal grief, a struggle that intensified over time. There was a silent understanding forming between Jackie and Hill, one built upon loyalty and unspoken support. He sensed that she wanted him near but not intrusive, a guardian who could protect not only her life but the dignity she fought so hard to preserve. This dynamic deepened the closer they grew, transforming what might have been a simple job into a profound connection. Hill's awareness of her hidden sorrow became the cornerstone of his unwavering commitment. Yet the true nature of the secret that Jackie bore remained obscured, carefully concealed behind her grace and poise. Hill's growing awareness of the emotional landscape she inhabited fueled a protective instinct that transcended duty. Every detail he noticed, the careful gestures, the silences following certain events, hinted at a story too painful to tell. This secret weighed on her and, in time, on him. The trust between protector and First Lady only deepened as Hill came to understand the woman behind the public figure, revealing a complexity few could comprehend. Trials of a First Lady. The life of a First Lady is often imagined as one of privilege and ceremony, but for Jacqueline Kennedy, it was a relentless whirlwind of expectations and exposures. Her schedule left little room for respite. From dawn until late at night, Jackie was engaged in a blur of official duties, public events, and traveling across the globe, always under the watchful eyes of millions. Clint Hill saw firsthand how exhausting this relentless pace could be. Travel was a constant demand. Whether crossing continents or moving through packed city streets, Jackie insisted on maintaining a connection to her surroundings and those she met. Hill accompanied her during state visits to France and India, observing how she captivated foreign dignitaries not only with her poise but with genuine curiosity and cultural respect. Each journey demanded heightened security measures, but also empathy and discretion as Jackie navigated these complex social settings. Behind the scenes, the pressures of public image weighed heavily on Jackie. She was expected to project grace and composure no matter the personal toll. Hill witnessed moments when the unyielding attention became almost unbearable, yet she remained composed, concealing her fatigue and private struggles from the public. This dual life of public perfection and private strain underscored the immense demands placed on her. Jackie's desire to shield her family's privacy from the constant spotlight added another layer of challenge. Her children's safety and well-being were paramount concerns, with Hill often called to balance protection with a need to respect the family's personal moments. The boundary between public role and private life was fragile, requiring vigilance to preserve both. The tragedy of Jackie's premature pregnancy in 1963 highlighted how deeply intertwined her personal pain was with her public duties. When complications forced her into hospital care for her unborn child, Hill's protective role intensified, moving beyond typical security tasks into quiet support. The emotional strain of such moments was rarely visible to the public but left lasting impressions on those close to her. Hill's responsibilities extended into anticipating threats not just from external forces but from the unpredictability of extreme circumstances surrounding the Kennedys. The political climate was volatile, and the risk to the family ever-present. Protecting Jackie was a constantly evolving challenge, requiring quick thinking and unwavering alertness amid chaos. The shadows of private pain often lie closest to the brightest public lights, revealing truths that only those who stand near can truly know. The tragedy of Patrick Bouvier Kennedy. In August of 1963, a deeply personal and heartbreaking moment unfolded in Jackie Kennedy's life, one that Clint Hill witnessed with profound empathy. During her pregnancy with their third child, Jackie had retreated from the demanding public sphere to seek rest and privacy as her due date approached. This period of quiet hope was shattered when complications arose, forcing her to be rushed to Otis Air Force Base Hospital in Massachusetts. Though off-duty, Hill's instinct and loyalty propelled him to be there, standing guard not just as a protector but as a silent witness to the fragile moment. The premature labor struck with alarming severity, as Jackie went into labor weeks earlier than expected. The baby, Patrick Bouvier Kennedy, was born days too soon, struggling to breathe due to severely underdeveloped lungs. At the time, medical options for respiratory distress in infants were limited, and doctors worked desperately to save the fragile newborn. Hill paced outside the delivery room, acutely aware of the seriousness of the situation, his protective watch now layered with helplessness. Despite the professional boundaries of his role, Hill quietly took on additional responsibilities that spoke to the depth of the family's emotional pain. Understanding Jackie and the president's Catholic faith was central to their lives, he arranged for a priest to baptize Patrick at the hospital. This small act of compassion spoke volumes about Hill's sensitivity to the family's needs beyond security protocols, revealing a man attuned to the complexities of mourning before it had fully emerged. Patrick was soon transferred to Boston Children's Hospital, where specialists hoped experimental treatments could save him. Hill stayed close by, managing the delicate balance between ensuring security and giving the family space to grapple with the crisis. The tension was palpable. Hours stretched into days as hope flickered amid growing fears. For Hill, this intimate window into Jackie's private anguish deepened his commitment, rooting his protection in shared human sorrow. Tragically, after just 2 days, baby Patrick succumbed to lung complications, dying on August 9, 1963. The loss devastated Jackie, compounding the emotional strain she had carried throughout her public life. Hill observed her grief firsthand, quiet, composed, deeply dignified yet immeasurably profound. She bore her sorrow without spectacle, embodying a strength that masked the intense pain beneath her poised exterior. This private tragedy forever altered the dynamic between Jackie and Hill. His role became less about ceremonious duty and more about guardianship of her soul's quiet suffering. The bond forged in these moments was one of profound trust and unspoken understanding, a sacred connection that transcended words. Through shared heartbreak, Hill's mission evolved, anchoring him in the silent, tender corners of Jackie's life. The loss that Jackie endured opened a path toward the most harrowing day that Clint Hill would ever face, changing both their lives forever. Life behind the public image. Jackie Kennedy was unlike any First Lady before or since. While the world admired her elegance and style, those closest to her discovered a woman with fierce independence and remarkable intellect. Clint Hill quickly learned that Jackie refused to be confined by expectations of ceremonial appearances or passive roles. Her life was dynamic and spirited, demanding constant attention not just to her safety but to the nuances of her daily routines. Hill witnessed how Jackie moved through crowded events and political functions with confidence and grace. She insisted on maintaining a sense of normalcy amidst the whirlwind of public attention. This meant traveling frequently, meeting dignitaries, and attending events that drew adoring crowds and ceaseless scrutiny. Despite all this, Jackie sought moments of privacy and freedom, challenging the limitations placed upon her simply because she was the First Lady. Intelligence and cultural sophistication were hallmarks of Jackie's identity. Her fascination with art, history, and architecture went far beyond surface-level interest. Hill noticed how she spoke passionately about these subjects during quieter times away from the public eye, revealing a rich inner life few glimpsed. This intellectual depth added layers to her character, inviting those close to her to appreciate a woman with a profound sense of purpose beyond the spotlight. Jackie's wit was pretty sharp, and usually had this dry little edge to it that could catch even her protectors off guard, like, in the moment. In the rare times she actually relaxed, she'd lightly tease someone or just sit with her own thoughts and reflect on how ridiculous fame can be, you know. Those small flashes of playfulness made it obvious that the poised figure people saw on magazine covers was only part of who she was. Behind that image, there was a woman who knew the harsh realities she was up against but still meant to face them in her own way, on her own terms, not anyone else's. For Clint Hill, protecting Jackie wasn't just a job you do and then move on. It meant appreciating the weird, layered things about her. It wasn't only about guarding her physical self, but honoring the autonomy she would claim, firmly, again and again. She guarded her personal space, and her dignity too, and Hill learned to keep that respected, without hesitation, without question. That kind of work called for discretion and intuition that goes past standard protection steps. He had to be able to sort of read the room, and anticipate her needs in quiet, subtle ways, even when nothing seemed urgent. And still, despite how strong she was, Jackie held an undeniable softness underneath. The contrast between her commanding presence and her private sensitivity was pretty striking. Hill noticed how the relentless push of public life collided with personal fears and, sometimes, sadness. So the work of protecting her became something more than procedure. It turned into a deeply human mission. That mix of resilience and fragility, it basically shaped a lot of how their relationship worked, day after day. What also drove Hill was her refusal to be treated like a mere symbol or an accessory to the presidency. She wouldn't fit into that box. Hill understood that her role wasn't just ceremonial, it was like a sign of a new era, youthful, glossy, and modern all at once. Because of that, her life required constant vigilance, for her safety of course, but also to protect the legacy she was building with careful, meticulous intent. Understanding the demands of Jackie's life brings us closer to the private struggles she endured daily, a reality that required constant protection. The day history changed forever. November 22, 1963, was a day that shattered not only a family but a nation, and Clint Hill's life would never be the same again. Assigned to the follow-up car behind the presidential limousine in Dallas, Hill was in the thick of a routine motorcade that quickly descended into chaos. Moments after passing the Texas School Book Depository, the sharp crack of gunfire ruptured the air, turning celebration into horror in an instant. Hill's training and instinct ignited, propelling him into motion even before he fully comprehended the gravity of what was unfolding. The now iconic footage captures Hill leaping onto the back of the moving limousine, throwing himself forward in a desperate attempt to shield Jackie and the wounded president. His reflexes were born of years of dedication, but the timing, heartbreakingly, was just too late to prevent the fatal injury. Inside the car, disbelief and panic coexisted in a surreal, suspended moment as the president's life slipped away mere inches from where Hill knelt. Hill's vivid memory of that scene remains etched in his mind, the blood-stained back seat, Jackie's shock-stricken composure, and the crushing sense of helplessness. Jackie, dazed and shaken, had climbed partly onto the trunk, a gesture Hill later interpreted as her reaching toward a fragment of the president's skull dislodged by the fatal shot. He gently but firmly helped her back, shielding her from further harm as the car sped toward Parkland Memorial Hospital. Throughout the frantic ride, Hill remained vigilant, scanning for additional threats while grappling with the unimaginable reality. The man he had sworn to protect was dying in his arms. The weight of those moments settled heavily on him, intertwining his professional duty with raw human grief. Jackie's whispered prayers to her husband, her restrained but profound sorrow, filled the space between chaos and calm. At the hospital, Hill stayed close as Jackie faced the unbearable news, the confirmation of President Kennedy's death. His role shifted from protector to steadfast companion amid a grief that few could comprehend. Yet outside, officials, and the public struggled to process the tragedy unfolding within those walls. Throughout it all, Hill maintained a quiet shield around Jackie, guarding her privacy and dignity fiercely. One of the most haunting images from that day was Jackie's refusal to change her blood-soaked pink suit. When aides gently urged her to do so, she insisted on remaining as she was, determined that the world witness the brutal reality of the violence inflicted on her husband. Hill recognized this not as hysteria but as a deliberate act of defiant clarity, a way of anchoring truth amid chaos, making history unbearable yet undeniable. Pain like this cannot be undone, only carried forward, shaping the lives of those who remain to tell the story. The weight of silence and guilt in the months following the assassination, Clint Hill faced a daunting challenge, not just in his continued duty to protect Jackie Kennedy and her children, but in confronting the haunting memories that never left him. Outwardly, he remained a symbol of steadiness and professionalism, yet privately, he struggled with a profound sense of failure. Despite acting swiftly and risking his own life during that fateful day, Hill was consumed by the belief that he could have done more, that a fraction of a second might have changed history. The relentless replay of those moments haunted his mind continuously. The sound of gunfire, the sight of Jackie climbing onto the limousine's trunk, and the blood-stained back seat became vivid images that invaded his thoughts unbidden. These memories were not easily dismissed or forgotten, intruding even into silence, disrupting peace whenever it sought to settle. Hill described this as a psychological burden, a weight that anchored him in an unending cycle of pain. This sense of survivor's guilt deepened over time, evolving into dark bouts of insomnia and emotional numbness. The professional accolades he received felt hollow against the backdrop of loss and tragedy he internalized. Praise from the public conflicted sharply with his private torment, intensifying the divide between how he appeared and how he felt. Hill wrestled with emotions that few could understand, struggling in silence as the trauma seeped into every facet of his life. Despite the outward appearance of composure, the psychological toll mounted. Hill openly admitted in later interviews that the despair was so deep at times he contemplated ending his own suffering. Though he never acted on those thoughts, the severity of his depression marked a critical turning point. It revealed the unseen cost borne by those charged with protecting leaders at the crossroads of history's most dangerous moments. His career, once full of purpose and pride, was overshadowed by this internal conflict. The trauma followed him even after leaving the Secret Service, shaping his mental health and worldview for decades. He carried a lifelong reminder of that day, not just the events themselves, but the profound burden of responsibility that came with them. This enduring pain highlighted the hidden sacrifices behind public service in extraordinary circumstances. The silence Hill maintained for so long was not only a professional obligation but a deeply personal shield against revisiting wounds too raw to expose. His loyalty to the Kennedy family extended beyond duty, entwined with empathy and a commitment to uphold Jackie's dignity. Yet this same loyalty meant carrying the secret pain alone, isolating him even as he remained physically close to those he protected. Hill's eventual choice to speak out openly about what he'd lived through sort of mirrored this bigger sense that truth matters and healing actually does too. As he set his story down, it kind of brought light on the quiet, hard battles people face, especially those who work on the front lines of protection and tragedy. The way he was direct gave real understanding of the emotion. Revealing the secret at last decades after the wounds of November 22nd, Clint Hill made the difficult choice to break the silence that had long enveloped Jackie Kennedy's secret. For many years, loyalty and discretion kept him bound, but over time, Hill came to believe that the full truth of Jackie's life, hidden beneath the surface of photographs and myth, deserved to be told. This decision marked not just a personal reckoning, but a pivotal moment in reshaping public understanding of a woman often veiled in awe and mystery. In his memoirs, Hill revealed a Jackie Kennedy rarely seen by history or the public, a woman of quick intelligence, subtle humor, and deeply human complexity. He recounted moments of her playful self-awareness, her dry wit, and the gentle mocking she reserved for her own celebrity status. This portrayal shattered the notion of Jackie as merely a distant icon, instead inviting the world to connect with the real, multifaceted woman behind the legend. Hill also highlighted Jackie's profound love of beauty and culture, a passion that offered her sanctuary amid turmoil. Her fascination with architecture, history, literature, and art was not vanity, but a crucial source of resilience. For Jackie, these elements provided a way to impose order and meaning on a world often marked by chaos and loss. Hill's accounts painted her as a woman who found strength and solace in the delicate interplay of aesthetics and history. Most importantly, Hill illuminated how Jackie managed her immense public duties while carrying private grief with quiet dignity. She balanced sorrow without allowing it to define her, choosing instead to engage deliberately with life's demands. Rather than retreat, she shaped her surroundings and her legacy with intention, turning personal tragedy into a steadfast commitment to grace and purpose. Hill's choice to speak out allowed history to embrace this nuanced portrait, enriching the collective memory of Jackie Kennedy. The image shifted from one of untouchable elegance to one that acknowledged pain, strength, and vulnerability coexisting within a unique individual. His testimony offered a rare gift, a closer look at the woman who endured profound losses while embodying resilience on the world stage. This revelation also underscored Hill's own role not just as a protector in moments of crisis, but as a witness to this complex trail of sorrow and survival. His decades of silence was testament to the sacred trust between them, and his eventual disclosure reflected a deep respect for the truth she carried. Through his voice, the private Jackie became like a messenger who honored her story all the way through. The secret that Hill unveiled wasn't really a scandal or controversy, more like an intimate understanding of grief and strength that lived quietly under the public gaze. That revelation softened the rigid edges of history, inviting empathy where there had been distance. As the layers peeled back, Jackie Kennedy surfaced not only as a cultural icon, but as a woman deeply fashioned by loss and love. Hill's choice to break decades of silence pointed to a larger truth about history itself, that the stories of those who safeguard and endure matter just as much as the headlines they guard. His memoirs and interviews formed a kind of bridge between the public face and the private reality, enriching the legacy of both Jackie Kennedy and the men who stood silently beside her in the darkest hours. The courage it took Hill to share that secret helped reframe the narrative, making room for understanding and compassion beyond the polished images. In doing so, he honored not only Jackie's memory, but the lasting human spirit that sits underneath every account of tragedy and endurance. The unveiling of this secret invites us all to look deeper, into history, into courage, and into the quiet strength that sustains us through unimaginable trials. Legacy of Grace and Truth. Clint Hill's revelations cast new light on Jackie Kennedy's legacy, transforming her image from that of an untouchable icon to a deeply human woman shaped by both extraordinary grace and private sorrow. His first-hand account reveals a complexity of spirit that few have been privileged to see outside the glare of the public spotlight. Jackie emerges not only as a symbol of style and poise, but as a resilient figure who bore immense personal loss with quiet strength. Hill's stories show how Jackie's love of beauty and culture was more than aesthetic, it was a source of emotional survival. Through architecture, art, literature, and history, she found refuge and meaning amid turbulence. This passion helped her sustain a fragile balance between public duty and private pain. It offered a window into the inner life of a woman who deliberately crafted her surroundings as a way to assert control in an uncontrollable world. The image of Jackie shaped by Hill is of a woman who carried sorrow with dignity, refusing to be defined or overwhelmed by tragedy. Instead, she engaged deliberately with life, contouring her personal landscape to reflect resilience rather than retreat. This composed endurance was not a mask but a testament to her strength. Hill's account underscores that beneath the polished exterior lay complex layers of intelligence, humor, and vulnerability. Hill's relationship with Jackie transcended that of protector and protectee. It became a bond tethered by trust and shared hardship. By standing quietly at her side during moments of triumph and unspeakable grief, he became one of the few witnesses to her truest self. This deeply personal perspective enriches the historical record by anchoring Jackie not only in the moments that shocked the world but in the quieter, equally significant moments of grace. His memoirs invite us to reconsider how public figures are remembered, and it pushes beyond myth into the realities of human experience. Jackie's legacy, as Hill reveals, is not simply about historical events or fashion as spectacle, but about a woman trying to live through this collision of public expectations and private pain, the kind people rarely talk about. This kind of portrait, nuanced almost too much, encourages empathy and a deeper appreciation for the burdens that stay quietly behind the scenes. Through Hill's stories, Jackie Kennedy's life gets a kind of emotional resonance, not just the surface glow. We see a woman who met loss after loss yet somehow stayed devoted to her family, her country, and ALS.